Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn, grab your drinks, take a seat, and put on your nostalgia hat and roll back with me to 1997 when Rareware introduced one of the top, if not the greatest title on the Nintendo 64. And I don't say that lightly because I do mean that. What could be said about this magnificent game that hasn't been said already? Goldeneye 007. And if you were lucky enough to be alive in 1997 and you owned a Nintendo 64 and you were able to play this game, then you know exactly what we're in for. I've been getting hit up left and right to review this game, and to tell you the truth, I've been putting it off because I want to do it justice. I want to make sure I say everything correctly here. This is a substantial game. This is a landmark title, and this game brought so many things to the world that we take for granted today. Some may wonder why now in 2010 we're talking about a 13-year-old game on a Nintendo console that's deemed outdated. And Nintendo, they don't support the 64 anymore. They would probably say that it didn't even exist. And the masterminds at Rare, well, those guys have been disbanded for years. So what's all the hoopla about? Why did Edge magazine give it 9 out of 10? EGM 9.3 out of 10. GameSpot 9.8 out of 10. IGN 9.7 out of 10. N64 magazine 94% out of 100. And why did it win Console Action Game of the Year, Console Game of the Year, Interactive Title of the Year, Outstanding Achievement in Software Engineering Award, and took the Game Award at the British Academy of Film and Television Arts Awards? And for those of you who lived through this like I did, the answer is simple: because this game changed our lives, period. And I can't say anything to you right now that would compare that feeling that I had. If that statement didn't make sense to you, I apologize, but it really was a life-changing experience. Most everyone would agree. On top of all the groundbreaking elements that made this game so amazing, you have to think back. Remember how conservative Nintendo was back then. I mean, we were playing a game that actually had realistic-looking people, realistic guns, realistic environments, killing. I mean, yeah, I know there's not blood flying and fatalities and all that, but still, for us kids to be doing this in a video game was just mind-blowing for the time. On a Nintendo console, that is. Alright, so I want to get into some of the history. I want to drop some knowledge on your noggin about this, and I'm going to let the footage of me playing through the first level here roll. You can check that out and watch that, and I apologize. I'm getting used to the controls again, and you'll notice sometimes on the sniper rifle, I just can't seem to line it up correctly. It's actually really touchy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this wonderful game in full HD. Alright, so the game was developed by Rare and released in 1997. It's based after the 1995 film James Bond Goldeneye, and the game, for the most part, follows the plot of the movie. You progress through the entire game following suit while acquiring new weapons and gadgets. You get mines, you get security door decoders to help open up locked doors. A lot of really cool gadgets along the way. Most all the weapons follow suit with the movie as well. You always start out with James Bond's official Walther PPK, which was called a PP7 in the game. You'll notice as you pick up the guns, they're molded after real guns, but most of the names on some of them have been changed or altered a little bit. Like the weapon, the Klob, if you remember that, it was actually named after a former Nintendo employee, Ken Lobb. So all the missions have 3 difficulty settings. Once you beat those, it unlocks the 007 difficulty, which then it gives you some parameters to adjust, like enemy damage and enemy reaction speed. Pretty sweet. Now, I think it's just crazy that this game was originally announced to be for the Super NES. It's very interesting. See, we have this kind of fuzzy window between 93, 94, 95, somewhere in there. They wanted to release all these games on the Super NES, like 007, Star Fox 2, and they realized that, you know what, we're gonna come out with this new system, let's just push it back and release it on the superior hardware. And again, that's exactly what they did here. Rare spent 2.5 years in development for this game. The initial idea they had was to make this game a rail shooter like Virtua Cop, Mad Dog McCree, Lethal Enforcers, games like that. And after development started, it kind of got molded into a free roam, open world type first-person shooter. Thank God. But what a lot of people don't know, and you wouldn't even know it from playing the game, a lot of the development staff on Rare developing this game were amateurs. They actually had very little experience with this type of a game. As a matter of fact, they spent the first year just developing the game engine from scratch. Absolutely amazing. So after the first year and the game engine was created, then they went in to start mapping the levels, textures, sprites, backgrounds, artificial intelligence, all that. They wanted to make it a nice balance between following the movie storyline and also giving James a little bit of extra activity, so to say, with extensions of levels or missions, or making James do missions that he wasn't a part of in the film. So that caused some delays going back and forth between that. They also wanted to give the player multiple routes to get to the same destination. And they actually even said that some of the levels and objectives in Super Mario 64 inspired them for some of the concepts that they've incorporated in the game. Now, when you have the Nintendo 64 hardware to work with, when you have that platform, you have a lot of perks. First, you have 4 players. You have 4 controller ports right on the front. One of the first consoles that I'd owned that ever had that. Multi-taps, out of the picture. It's already there. It's dedicated. So developers can take full advantage of this. And what I find is very interesting is that Goldeneye was not originally planned to be multiplayer. It boggles my mind. They actually say it was kind of an afterthought and they put it in at the last minute. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, yeah, I love the single player and it's fun to blaze through, but holy moly, the multiplayer is where this game shines. I think the reason why this game is what it is because of the multiplayer. Go figure. Rare actually stated that it was, quote, a complete afterthought, unquote. Oh, jeez. Also stating that Steve Ellis, he was the guy who did the multiplayer mode, quote, sat in a room with all the code written for a single player game and turned Goldeneye into a multiplayer game, unquote. So he even had to take original single player game code and create a whole new game out of it. That is mind-blowing. Yeah, I mean, in essence, it has all the same game elements in it between single player and multiplayer, but they are 2 completely different things that really needed to be done. But really, the multiplayer is where the game shines, and that's where we all spent countless, not hours, but days, weeks, months. I know I spent a lot of time in front of my TV playing this with all my friends. Multiplayer features 8 of the characters right out the bat, with 25 becoming available after you progress through the game more in single player, and the levels, the arenas you can play at, work in the same fashion. So multiplayer features 5 different scenarios, and with the weapons, they actually group them by type. You have pistols, automatics, explosive, laser guns, throwing knives, golden gun, and everyone's favorite, slappers only. The different game modes include normal, which is a basic deathmatch, you only live twice mode, which is self-explanatory, the living daylights, quote, flag tag. In this mode, a token or flag is placed in the map. Player who captures it carries it around for as long as you can. You cannot shoot or use weapons, but you can slap if you have the token, and whoever can possess it the longest wins. Then they have the man with the golden gun mode, which is the golden gun is placed in the map somewhere, and whoever finds it first gets a one-shot kill on all their opponents. Once you have the golden gun, you do become visible on everyone else's radar, so that can kind of be a pain in the coconuts. In the last mode, a very fast-paced and crazy one, it's called License to Kill. One shot, one kill on any weapon, any gun you've got, even slappers, one hit and you're dead. Let me just tell you that that mode is crazy. So as we all know, this was the game to play multiplayer on Nintendo 64. It brought multiplayer to the masses. It revolutionized the first-person shooting genre on consoles. This game also brought us for the first time player-specific hitbox detection. The enemies would react differently depending on where you shot them. One in the head, dead. Maybe a couple in the arms, legs, maybe 1 or 2 in the chest. This game also made popular the zooming of a sniper rifle on a console shooter. This game has received flying merits when it was released, and it still does to this day. Just go look at any list you can find of top shooters. This game is on it. If it isn't number 1, it's definitely somewhere in the top 5 for shooters, and this game is always on the top 25 of games in general lists. And on its initial release, the game sold over 8 million copies. And now that we sit here and know all this, isn't it crazy to think that an afterthought changed your and my gaming world? Come on now, friends. Do you even have to guess?
This game gets an A+.
Hi. How you doing? Hey,
Billy, stop it.
Good.
Billy, stop it.
Okay, class, hello. My name is Mr. Heine. I'm going to be your substitute teacher today. Miss Williams will not be in today. She evidently consumed too much from the punch bowl and tried to pull off a Saturday night fever routine. But anyway, and I know this is 3rd period, and that's your history class, and so I'm going to teach you about an event that happened in 1997. Have you ever heard of the Nintendo 64?
No.
All right, well, then you probably haven't heard of the game Goldeneye, have you?
No.
All right, well, the only thing you need to know is that in multiplayer, you do not use odd job. Everyone, do not use odd job. Repeat it with me. Everyone, what's the number 1 rule? You do not use odd job.
Why not?
Well, because he has an unfair advantage due to his height. So being short is bad. People say I'm short. Listen, all you little brats, all you need to know is that you do not use that short little son of a bitch